Hi, everybody, and welcome to yet another spine tingling, scintillating six questions with Dan and Michelle. But you may notice right here is not Michelle. Michelle has been sent on a special secret assignment
Top secret.
overseas of a spy and secret
Sensitive
agent
nature.
sort of sensitive nature that we cannot talk about. But this one time and one time only, until the next time we do it, please welcome today's co host, Angie.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, sweetie. It would be inappropriate for me to call her sweetie if she was not my wife, but
This is
she
not the 80s anymore.
is not. Nah, yeah, when you can do that with everybody, right? Like JR, you hello, sweetie. Okay.
Yeah.
So sweetie, thanks for stepping in and co-hosting, and please welcome our guest, Jeremy Raymer.
Yay.
Hello.
Jeremy is one of the founders, well, the primary founder actually of Project 61, which we recently did a feature on for Caltrucks magazine. And Project 61, which we'll get into in a second, is all about helping to provide resources and ideas so that truck drivers can live healthier lives and expand their life expectancy. Because you're going to find out in a second what the average life expectancy of a truck driver is in this country. You might see a hint on Jeremy's shirt. But Project 61 is a great organization. So we want to have him on and talk about that. But thank you so much for being with us today. And we might as well just go ahead and get into the questions right now. Okay, Jeremy, so let's just get right into this. We talked to you about it extensively last month, but what led you to want to create an organization like Project 61? What was your motivation?
Well, I've been in the industry going on 23 years, so it's not foreign to me the challenge, the health challenges that truck drivers have inherently just because of the job, right? And so I was an employer of truck drivers for 15 years, a lot of them, and lost some of them to those reasons. And I think as I got a little bit older, I started to approach 50 and cross over that threshold. It starts to hit you different, right? You start realizing mortality is real and you start really wanting to focus on the things that matter most. And so then when I kind of took stock personally and have children that I want to see grow up, I I turned my attention towards the trucking industry that I'm in and drivers specifically, and you say that's not okay. We have to be able to do better than this. Not the 61 number is awful, but even more importantly, they have lives. They have a spouse or they have children or grandchildren, and they deserve to be able to spend time with them. I mean, I don't know that there's anything more important in life than being able to enjoy the people that you love and
Yeah.
be around each other.
And I mean, obviously, the nature of being a truck driver does take you away from home, maybe more than the average job. But I was thinking about this because as we talked about it, and actually, and Angie and I, when we travel, we often drive. You know, well, how many times have we driven to Florida? So many times.
Oh,
And never on one of those drives would I say, did we eat healthy?
Yeah.
So if you think about, or let alone find time to exercise or anything like that. So when you think about the fact that that's kind of your everyday,
Yeah.
you know, so can you tell us a little bit about the resources, the insights that you're bringing to the truck driver community so that they can turn that around a little bit?
Yeah, so for us, you've got 3.5 million, commercial truck drivers in America, with the majority of them obese or overweight, a majority of them smoke, and a majority of them are in less than stellar health, right? So that all said, that's sort of the backdrop. And also on your point about driving, you've got to be so intentional, right? So
Mhm.
if I know I'm going to be on the road or I know I'm driving a long distance, I have to take some things with me that are my stash, right? My good, healthy human food. Because if I don't, I'm going to be at the mercy of what is available, trying to live off the land, at a truck stop or a convenience store. Those are not usually good choices.
Nope.
And furthermore, you have to be really intentional when you do stop to take a break, that you move, that you walk, that you get around. And I say all of that because for us to address this epidemic. This is really what it is. This is, Project 61 is a nonprofit for us to address this epidemic, this health epidemic in the industry. You're not going to be able to make wholesale, changes at scale without technology being a foundational or core part of that process. And so, to that end, Project 61 purchased a company earlier this year called Offshift, which was a driver focused health and wellness app. And the whole premise around that app is to help them build healthy habits when it comes to nutrition and hydration, when it comes to movement and activity, as well as sleep and mental health. These are things that, if we can help, baby steps. Nobody has to become a marathon runner, maybe ever, but you need to just, promote and encourage baby steps towards being a better, healthier version of yourself, because 61 is not okay. We have to be able to do better than that.
For
And
sure.
I am super excited about the momentum and the reception that we've received from all corners of the industry. It's pretty amazing.
I was shocked when I read that the life expectancy is 61. I mean, I don't know why it shocked me actually, because I come from a trucking family. My grandfather was a trucker for years and he died at 48 years old. And my uncle also was a trucker and he just died a few years ago and he made it a little bit longer in his early 70s. But, when you're on the road, Dan and I travel a lot, or we have over the years. And obviously, you see lots of trucks and it's like kind of sometimes I wonder, the lure of the road, how cool would that be? And Dan and I have talked about, hey, maybe we should just ditch it and get our own truck and do
We get
that.
CDLs, become truck
Yeah.
RV
drivers.
or
Yeah.
an RV or something.
But yeah, but I often think, you're stopping and it's like I think they're getting a little bit better, these truck stops. I have noticed they're like offering salads and things, but you go in there and you're like, how long has this been sitting here? You're kind of wondering if it's kind of an iffy proposition. So you're just more apt to just go for the fast food. And I can see how that would just add up, obviously, over the years. And like you did make a just most of them to smoke. So my grandfather smoked 4 packs a day, which is why he died at 48. But
Yeah.
so moving into that, was it a journey for you, Jeremy, to embrace and maintain the healthy habits for yourself?
Uh, Definitely. So about 3 years ago, again, as I was approaching 50, um, I read a book. The book was called How Not to Die. And while,
Good
I
practical
thought that was an
advice.
appropriate book, if you're thinking along those lines, like I'd rather not if I have a choice. But it was heavily focused on the importance of nutrition and a more of a plant-based diet. Now, that all said, and I went through a period about a year and a half or so where I was really, really strict on a plant-based diet. I've expanded a little bit since then as I continue to read more and more and more and really embrace all things that are health related, because at the end of the day, if I'm going to, not only do I need to lead myself and my family, but also if I'm going to try to spearhead a movement in the trucking industry, then I kind of need to know what I'm talking about and learn from people who are experts. And so from that perspective, that's absolutely been my own journey. And I can say without blushing that I felt 1,000 times better at 50 than I did at 40. And I don't know that I don't know if that's a thing that other people say, but I can tell you, taking care of yourself makes a world of difference in how you feel and how you sort of think and approach life.
Amen. I'm with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. There's and in our own ways, Angie and I have both experienced that because we also know it, but I mean both of us being in our 50s. Yeah, that's definitely been a critical thing for us as well.
I think I'm hitting my prime.
Absolutely.
You look like you are. Jeremy, prior to Project 61, you owned a trucking staffing firm for quite a few years. And I was interested to know because your background is not as a truck driver and neither is ours, and yet we're all kind of all about trucking all the time. How did your particular focus in the businesses you've built over the years happen to have so much focus on trucking?
Well, all I did for really my, the facet of the industry, it's a humongous industry, but the facet of the industry that I've been in since day one, since 2003, was recruiting, um, qualifying drivers, hiring drivers. That's it. It was always about the driver. So we touched them constantly, every day, all day. For 15 years as a driver staffing company, I also owned a small trucking company. We had about 22 trucks, I think, at our peak. And this was in the fun years leading up to 2008, the Great Recession. So that was a painful and costly education in
Hmm.
trucking. But fortunately, we were able to get through that and survive. And then I built technology, on the heels of that in 2017 until just recently, a company that was focused on recruiting and compliance technology. So from that perspective, that's the only thing I've been doing in trucking is working with truck drivers. So I think I have a lot of experience, a lot of years under my belt of in seeing what they live and go through on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and I know because I've been writing for transport topics for almost 20 years, and a lot of the work I've done has been on the technology side and the technologies that are getting developed. And so much of it has been on, like route optimization and things like
Mhm.
that. But but something that's actually for the health and well-being of the drivers themselves, I haven't seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I know the industry is going to welcome that.
Well, and not only that, it's one of those things that if you've heard the term maybe you can have 1,000 problems in life until you have a health problem, and then you only have one problem. And it's just a perspective setter. And unfortunately, I think even a lot of carriers who I know that they care about their drivers, but what comes to mind first is the return that they're going to get from efficiency opportunities with, investing in route optimization technologies and things like that. But if you invest in your healthier people, the healthier driver is a safer driver. You're going to have less turnover. You're going to have just a better operating company. But more importantly, these are humans. Let's take care of them.
Um, we've talked to a lot of owners, and obviously there's a shortage out there. They're looking to recruit, a lot of their drivers are aging out or whatever, and they're trying to get new, younger drivers for the future. And I would think that this initiative would be a big draw for them, somebody that's actually looking out for, okay, we know this is an inherently unhealthy, this is what the history of it is, but this is kind of what we're doing for you for the
Right.
future. To me, that seems like it'd be a great um, allure if I was looking to go into that area.
Yeah. You want to work for somebody that cares about you, is interested in your well-being and mutual success, right? And so from that perspective, most people don't quit just for pay. Pay is a thing. It's not nothing, but it's, do I feel valued? Do they care? That makes a world of difference. And so I 100% agree.
Yeah.
So Jeremy, you alluded to previously, I don't know if you still are adhering to like more of a plant-based diet. So currently, what is your favorite home cooked meal? What does that
Ooh.
look like for you?
So it's not plant-based, but there's some plant products in it. So one of the things that we've gotten into a routine of making about every week is a salmon poke bowl. And it's got I think it's the basmati rice or jasmine rice. It's got edamame beans, cucumbers, avocado, and then grilled salmon. And then I usually put some soy sauce on that. And I get so excited when I know that whenever, it's Tuesday, we're having that. I get so excited because it's delicious. My kids all love it, even the whole house. And it's one of my favorites because I'm checking a lot of boxes when I'm eating that. Beans, especially, I love edamame beans are just delicious. But definitely more of a plant-based.
Okay.
I'm mostly plants, but plants are like the main, dish, if you will. But then whether it's fish or other types of meat are still they're more sides to me than than how I think most Americans do that reverse.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out in my head how I would make that, and I'm getting lost at first of all the pronunciations of some things alone are tripping me up, but I can see how much you.
Oh, it's delicious.
Yeah.
And there's lots of those types of things, by the way. I mean, I love greens. What's weird, and this is a transition because, I wouldn't have said this 5 years ago, but when I go to a buffet, for example, or if I'm at a conference and I see what they have serving, that's out, I'm looking. All of a sudden, if I see like a big bowl of like really good a spring mix type of lettuce or some good like greens or some vegetables, and I just start getting excited. And it's weird. It's not because I think it tastes great. It tastes good enough. I don't necessarily eat things because I think they taste great. I eat things because I know they're very good for me, and my
Mhm.
body just gets happy. It's really weird.
He's going to live to be 100. All right. So, Jeremy, we were stalking your LinkedIn profile a little bit. I almost said link book. And I noticed that the cover photo on your LinkedIn profile is a photo of a certain place that we've also been to and are quite fond of. So tell me all about your love for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Well, I grew up in LA, and so spent most of the first 30 years of my life there. And so I've been a Dodger fan since I was a kid. It was helpful that they were always a solid team back in those days, especially when I was old enough to know any better. So from that perspective, been a Dodger fan my whole life, and there's something about watching a game at Dodger Stadium in Chavez Ravine and looking out. You see palm trees, you see the skyline of Los Angeles. You're up on the hill. It's awesome. And then I'm super proud of the team. I know that you get a lot of people who will say, "Well, they bought their team." Okay, well, they play within the rules, but I can tell you, I really feel like they are good guys, and it's a lot easier to like them when you know that you can take almost any of them and say these are good character people, they're good role models, and so from that perspective, that just makes me love them more. So I'm proud as a back-to-back, supporter of back-to-back champs.
Yeah, great time to be a Dodgers fan right now.
Yeah.
I mean, even though you do see the old English D here because we live in Detroit and this is certainly our team, but for Angie and me and our son as well, the Dodgers are our favorite National League team, and they have been for a long time. That goes all the way back to Kirk Gibson in 1988, and even before that. And our one visit to Dodger Stadium was in April 2015. They played the Padres. Adrian Gonzalez hit 3 home runs in that game. Um, and it's interesting what you say about the kind of people because I think we do have that impression too, don't we?
Hmm.
I mean, certain people obviously like Clayton Kershaw, and we all know his background, but that just like of a team with so many superstars. If
Hmm.
you remember what the Yankees were like in the late 70s, they had all these superstars and they were constantly at each other's throats. This team seems like a family. And
Yeah.
and I don't know how much of that is Dave Roberts' leadership or the front office, but it really does.
Yeah, I think it's all of that. I certainly think you've got to give credit to the coach. If he's gonna get, the axe if they're not doing well, or then, give him some credit when they are. But certainly you top to bottom. I mean, I won't list them all, but you got Shohei Ohtani, you got Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. These are class act people that are great, leaders in the league. Now, I'm not going to take anything away from Toronto for that matter. The recent World Series, probably one of the best I've ever
Oh
seen.
my
And
goodness.
had I not been a Dodger fan, I think I would have been pulling for Toronto to get a win after not, being 32 years without one. So it was tough. That was a good one though.
It it I think is the best World Series in my memory. And I wanted to say one other thing about what you said at the beginning. If having a high payroll guaranteed you a World Series championship, I'd like to know how the Mets did in the playoffs this year.
Right.
Question 6, Jeremy. What do you love most about your wife, Wendy?
Ooh, that's well, I have three kids. I have an 11, 12, and 13-year-old. I can tell you part of the reason why I've made some of the decisions that I made in my life is because how much they mean to me and I want to see them grow up and so on. And that said, I could say the number one thing is that she is the best mother that I could have ever fathomed. Being able to marry for the last 20 plus years. Um, it's this conversation a lot of times because we used to go to events together. This is before we had kids or even when they were really young and we could take them. But since once they're in school and it's hard. So, I'm usually traveling at a lot of conferences. And so people who knew her before are, always, how is she doing? Where's Wendy? That sort of thing. But I've had a lot of people will, share their appreciation for the work that we're doing and stuff like that for Project 61. And they'll sort of pat me on the back. And I always joke because you've heard people say, behind every good man, right?
Yeah.
And I always what I always say is behind every good man is a woman rolling her eyes. And she doesn't do that, to be fair, but I do think it's funny. She's I wouldn't be who I am. I just wouldn't be. She's amazing.
That,
Great answer. I love that.
that's having a wife like that is a real blessing. I should know. Okay. Also a
Great.
blessing. The fact that we actually got through this interview. Those of you watching, you have no idea what I'm talking about, but
Great.
everybody here does. So, Jeremy, thanks so much for doing this. It's been great to get to know you better and continued success to Project 61. It's such a worthy endeavor, and we're so glad you're doing it. Sweetie, thank you so much for co-hosting.
You're welcome.
Everybody, Michelle will be back next time. I'm Dan, and join us again for another Six Questions with Dan and Michelle.